Hey,
What?
you just didn't talk yet. I was worried we were having a
Uh,
technology malfunction.
no, I said hi, and then you gave me that look.
No, it looks
Oh,
like
man.
we're
Whew.
safe. We did it. Good job.
I was
How
thinking
are
about
you?
something. I'm good. How are you?
I'm okay. I feel like I actually haven't really talked to you in a long time.
No, I know.
Last night we did have a brief FaceTime video to go over outfit options, but I'm still confused about what this talk is.
This is my talk for AVMA about our street pets
And
project,
what's AVMA?
American Veterinary Medical Association. I'm a little nervous about it actually because it's very much
Why?
a different because it's like a whole different sort of style of talk. First of all, it's long. It's 45 minutes and it's
Wow,
not
that
a
is a long talk.
long talk and it's not a scientific talk, it's more storytelling. So I'm just trying to present to people things that they can do to help people with pets on the street by telling them some of the stories about how we came about doing it.
You're also coming here this weekend. Woo!
I
After your
am
talk.
coming there
I'm so
that
excited.
weekend, this weekend. Are you showing Sunday? Do you know?
I don't know what the schedule is. I don't know what the sitch is going to be. So I'm going to play that one by ear.
What do you love about horses?
They're pretty and they're fluffy. I'm frustrated and I'm also sweating.
That's your fault.
Okay, do you have an anatomy lesson for me today?
I do. Can
Okay.
you tell me, Katie Mack, where the suspensory ligament, where is the origin of the suspensory ligament? We're going to do all about the suspensory ligament, actually.
It starts from the knee down, like that the knee is the origin of where it connects from. That would be my assumption. But I feel like it's a trick question.
Oh, that's pretty good. It's not actually the knee, it's the back of the cannon bone. So it originates off of the back of the cannon bone right below the knee.
Why does it so frequently get injured?
Well, what is its job?
I would think it would be like the absorption and the stretch.
So it supports the fetlock drop.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. So actually, it runs down the back in order to support the fetlock drop. If you think about it, it runs down the back of the cannon bone and then it connects into the sesamoid bones that are at the back of the fetlock and it wraps around to the front and it
Yeah.
attaches at the front of the coffin bone. So at the extensor process of the third phalanx or the front of the coffin bone.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, so it makes a little sling and then it sends off these other little ligaments down below it that kind of take over the support on the back side of the leg.
So is it significantly more common in hunter jumper sports rather than dressage? Like an
Dressage
injury?
horses probably a forelimb suspensory is. The hind limb suspensory is a really common injury in dressage horses.
Dressage.
Yeah, because they have to sit on,
Yeah.
bear so
Yeah, yeah,
much
yeah,
weight on
yeah.
their hind end.
Okay,
There
good
you go.
lesson. Okay,
Interesting
and
thing though
then
about hind limb versus forelimb suspensory injuries, just since we started that a little bit.
yeah.
Hind limbs can be historically pretty frustrating. They happen in all disciplines, but they often show up insidiously. So they sneak up on you. So that's why sometimes they're really hard to manage because you don't recognize them early. So they
Why is that?
smolder. Well, people don't recognize hind limb lamenesses as much as they
As
do a
easily
forelimb
as front.
lameness. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I think another thing that happens because, okay, you talked about it attaching at the knee, right? In the back, it's the hock. It's just below the
Mm-hmm.
hock with fibers that go up into the tissues that surround the hock. But think about how many horses get their hocks injected when they're a little stiff behind
Yeah.
without maybe a lot of diagnostics. I think that's a really common
Yeah.
problem. They get their
That makes sense.
suspensories treated, their low grade suspensories treated, and then they keep working on them, and then they get them treated every 6 months until they go, ah!
Until they blow up. As much as I would love to keep talking about career ending injuries, you have a topic.
I do have a topic.
I did my little research.
Oh, good job.
Thank
Okay.
you.
So we're having a lot of controversy right now in the dressage world about some recent rule changes that is going to eliminate the use of the double bridle at third level. So what do you think about that,
Yeah.
Katie Mack?
I want to back up because I know in dressage, double bridles are talked about a lot. It's pretty common, but for people who aren't maybe in that world as much, do you want to talk a little bit about the double bridle and what the use is?
Sure. So a double bridle is just the bridle that has basically it has two bits. It has a snaffle bit that I think most of us are familiar with. That's a direct line to the reins, and then it has a curb bit. So the horse has two bits in their mouth, and the curb bit works a little bit off of leverage. So it's a stronger bit. It gives you a little more oomph.
It's in some ways in a very dumbed down version. It's like a pelham. When you have a pelham, you can use the snaffle rein or you can use the rein that's attached to the shank at the bottom if you want to. But a double
A
bridle,
pelham
go
basically
ahead.
came about as a I don't know what the right word to use, dumbed down
S-
version, yeah,
Yeah, that's
of a
what I'm
double
saying.
bridle. So that's what the
Right.
pelham is designed to mimic.
And the
Correct.
double bridle has the shank similar to you would see in a pelham, where it can vary in lengths, which would vary in the severity of how much leverage you have.
Correct.
So the use of a double bridle,
Well,
what is the proper use of it and where does it come from?
yeah. So where it comes from really is tradition, right? Because similar to the saber that we no longer carry, we don't typically take these horses into battle and need a bunch of bit to help us control them. So it's very much a traditional thing. And traditionally, as you work up the levels of dressage, the horse moves into the double bridle. The intent being, in my opinion, the intent being that it shows finesse. So if your horse will go willingly in a double bridle with their mouth closed and happy, the rider has to have educated, quiet hands. And the horse has to be willing to accept all that hardware in their mouth. And in a perfect world, when you ride in a double bridle, you ride the horse primarily off the snaffle, and the curb rein is loose or loose-ish. That is, in reality, however, not what always happens. Oftentimes, the horse gets put into a double bridle to give people a little more something to manage their horse's head.
So, third level, historically, from what I was reading, and Mom, feel free to correct me because this is certainly not my expertise, but once you reach third level, it's obviously not required, but it is permitted to use a double bridle. And that was
Yes.
where
And
you were then allowed to add in a double bridle as a piece of equipment by USEF rules.
wait,
Okay.
correct. The question being, why do you then choose to ride your horse at third level in a double bridle? Is it because you want to demonstrate that you have that finesse and they're accepting of the bit and bridle and to show that sort of submission? Or is it because you need that extra hardware to get their head down? That's the crux of the debate. Just a little interesting piece of history. In 2002, double bridles were not allowed at third level. So it's a relatively recent development that the double bridle has been allowed at third level. At that point, there was equal controversy about should we use them? Should we introduce them? So the rule changed. Now it's changing back. Second level is where collection first comes into the tests. So
But
between
why
first level and second level,
collect?
if you read the test, the thing that it asks for collection, quote unquote, is in second level.
But collection does not require a double bridle.
Should not. No.
You've asked my thoughts on this.
If your horse is running through your hands, then collection might be aided by a double bridle. Interesting also, just to add to this whole thing, FEI has recently changed the rule to allow a Grand Prix test at a 3-star, so a fairly high level of competition, can be ridden in a snaffle.
Yeah. So this is the other side of this that I was truly flabbergasted by when I was looking, that historically it was a requirement to use a double bridle. And I can't understand why it would be required to use harsher equipment if you could accomplish it with less.
So it was a requirement because the idea is to show that the horse is accepting of the double bridle, accepting of the contact, and the rider can do it with a soft, quiet hand. So that would be the reason. And
If
it's
you can
tradition
accomplish it
to
just as beautifully in a snaffle, why does the horse need to accept all of that, as you said, hardware in their mouth? It just doesn't, that does not make sense to me why that would be. I understand tradition, like, sure, whatever, but like equipment progresses. So,
because if it's, I don't disagree with you, by the way, but so I'm just giving you the thought process
mhm.
because it can be just as beautiful. Yes, it's harder for it to be just as beautiful with the double bridle. It's more difficult if it's being used correctly. The problem is that's not what we see. We see it being
Well,
used to pull a horse together.
is there a rule on shank length?
That's a really good question. I don't actually know if there's a specific rule on shank length. There's pages and pages of rules.
I think that you should be required in all FEI events, starting with FEI, in dressage, you should be required to allow the judges to inspect your bridle so that they know what equipment you are using in order to accomplish what you're accomplishing.
Well, the stewards inspect the bridles before they go.
But they're not judging. It should be a factor involved in judging. And I genuinely believe this. It should be a factor in the judgment of, oh, they need that much to get that done. Like there should be like points for like the, yes, go ahead. That's a
That's
controversial thought, I know.
no. Also, two things about that. The first one is so you have a certain bit in your mouth. Again, this is going back to the idea that if you have a double bridle on and you're riding with a loose curb rein, the horse's mouth is closed, they're very soft in the contact, their poll is up, all the things are really correct in that double bridle, then is that better than if the same thing happens in the snaffle? That would be the argument in favor of allowing double bridles, that it's actually you're showing more skill and better submission, but that implies that it's being used really correctly and beautifully, actually. And then I forgot what my oh, and there are people online who are suggesting exactly what you just said. Why can't they have the bridles at allowed at third level, but you get bonus points if you don't use it? Bonus points.
If you're riding in a double bridle and you're only using the snaffle rein and not using your curb rein, then just don't use it, period. There is no argument that having two bits inside a horse's mouth is better for the horse. Unless you can find me an argument that shows that is better for the horse.
No, and I don't disagree with you. Let's flip this to the hunters.
In the jumper ring, it's not a judged event, right? So you can't do that. But in the hunters, it should be the same thing, right? If you're doing a hunter derby, you should have to present what bit. The judges should have a card of what equipment you are using in order to get it done the way you are. And the horse in the happy mouth they should be indicating through the course, wow, that's so beautiful. And they're able to get all of that done in a happy mouth. Or just a normal snaffle.
What about a full
Yeah.
cheek? So do you get marked down if you have on a full cheek?
In the hunter ring, yeah, you can't ride in a full cheek. That's
You
just
can't, it's
just is.
not allowed.
You're going to be docked by the judges. You can't ride in a full cheek. Just
What
like
about a
you
big-
couldn't go do a hunter derby in a pelham.
What about a D
That's-
ring?
D ring is good. You can't do a loose
This is-
ring. It's all a D ring. Hunters
Why
all
can't you
D ring.
why can't you do a loose ring? A D ring also helps you turn. It also has the solid piece that pushes the horse's head over.
Right. But it's tradition.
Okay, let's move on. Here's another one because then I've been watching all these videos because I'm horse shopping and I don't know very much about working equitation. It's an interesting discipline. It's really growing, and there's a lot of stuff online right now because we have this US team that's going to the international championships or whatever, and a lot of them are based in Oregon. So I'm seeing a lot of stuff about it. And I'm noticing all of these people riding these horses in a curb bit with no snaffle. No snaffle rein. They're just riding on a curb rein. So in my head, I was like, why? What is that? Why are they doing that? And I looked it up. And once again, it goes back to tradition because this sport came from these people who are like working cows out in the, I don't know, they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Like I said, I don't totally understand the sport, but it's because they ride one handed. And historically, you can only perform these maneuvers one-handed if you're in a curb rein. This is what I was able to figure out. And in my head, I'm like, why can't you perform those maneuvers one-handed in a snaffle? Can't you ride one-handed in a snaffle?
I hate tradition.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't. But I it's just so frustrating to me that becomes an excuse for lack of welfare progression, for lack of a more eloquent way to say that.
No, and I agree. So meanwhile, I'm watching videos of WE riders and I'm watching the top, the really good ones. And they are riding one-handed with a single curb rein and it's loose and it's beautiful and it's fine. But I picture that, and it also happens at the higher levels, similar to dressage. They start in a snaffle because they start doing their maneuvers with two reins, and then they move up, which is actually the same in Western disciplines as well. My concern is when that happens in the uneducated hands. I'm pretty okay with those bits being used with uneducated hands.
I don't think that the use of equipment is bad. I just think, and I've said this before, that we over equip underqualified people. I think that's a huge issue in this sport. I don't know if it's because it makes it easier for trainers. They don't have to as properly teach people. They're able to move people up levels faster. I don't know what the entire reason is, other than probably money somewhere in there. But it is. That's the issue, is over equipping underqualified people. And I do think that there should be rules in place. I'm proud of dressage for the rules that they're making like that. I don't see why people get to move up levels at their own free will. There's no requirement in order to up level. Think Pony Club, right? You have to accomplish certain things and not winning ribbons. That's not what I mean. But you have to display horsemanship and display a level of expertise in order to up level, right? I don't understand why that's not something in the sport more. And I understand it's hard to do that for amateurs and juniors, but even within trainers, like why are trainers not leveled at what level of expertise they possess? And I don't know.
That gets back
It
to
seems
trainer.
like the wild freaking West out here.
Yeah, that gets back to trainer licensing, which your dad has
Yes.
so much to say about because it's like,
Sure.
He's seen so many people who don't really know what they're doing, who just hang out a shingle. We all do, right? They hang out a shingle to become a horse trainer. And that's that. All I know is this. I watched a trainer at the CDI at Del Mar last year. She's young. Her name is Jacqueline Pepper. She rode her Grand Prix in the CDI in a snaffle, and it was so beautiful. And I was really happy to see that, and I was really impressed. And she's lovely. She's great in the barn.
I don't think that it's bad to have equipment, but I think that people forget a lot of times what equipment they are using. If you're really mindful of what you're using and you're really thoughtful about it, that's one thing. But if you're like, people forget the severity of what they have in horses' mouths.
Okay, let's talk about the whole A, bitless bridles, and B, bridleless things that we see. There's videos now of people riding meter 30 courses without a bridle. What do you think about that?
Like with a neck rope?
Yeah, it's crazy.
What do you have to say about that?
I think about that a lot. I would like to be able to do it. I think it's amazing. I watch riding dressage tests too. They're doing bridleless dressage. The fact that someone could go out there and do a bridleless test in dressage is amazing. That said, it's not the same. And what I think you miss with that is those horses do not appear to me anyway to work through their backs because there's no real connection to the front end. So they're doing a half pass, but they're doing it inverted, not really connected and not really working through their backs. I think it would be super cool to learn how to ride a bridleless dressage test. But I don't
I
think it
hear
would
you.
be the quality of the dressage test that you're going to get with just a snaffle, the back end to the front end.
It's not just about getting their heads down when connect that connection. It actually in a lot of ways is about preventing injury and building different muscles and getting them to use, like you're saying, if you're jumping around and a horse is hollow in their back and landing, there is a different way to engage their body that in a lot of ways can prevent them from being injured in the long run when you have that connection.
So the next step to that I find interesting to think about is, okay, that's bridleless. Bridleless, you don't have a connection to the front end. Kind of do. There's some really interesting bitless bridles out there. And I haven't seen enough of this to be able to evaluate it, but can you get that same connection? You get that same back to front through the back? I think you can. A lot of bitless bridles you have to be careful about because they work on a hackamore, which is a lot of leverage. It's not necessarily on the mouth, but it's still a lot of leverage.
And I think
bitless bridles that work more like a snaffle, I would be really interested in how that kind of plays into that.
that's actually a huge misconception that people have. People are very often, oh, like a hackamore, so light and soft. And it's just a different type of pressure. The pressure is just placed in different areas. What I will say about that is that I think that some horses really like that pressure better. Some horses don't like that pressure as much, but some horses do like it better. I have a horse I pretty much exclusively ride in a hackamore, but he really likes it. Not that that means it's necessarily softer in any way, it's just applied in a different way.
Does your hackamore have a long shank? Does it have a shank on it?
Medium.
So there's a design of a bitless bridle that this guy, I can't
Yeah.
remember his name, but from England, that I had for
That's,
Frank. Remember that?
yeah.
It almost works more like a snaffle. Doesn't have any leverage. It's really interesting. And there are some very small studies that probably aren't, the numbers maybe don't totally add up, but that those are beneficial for horses with neurological conditions.
And why would that be?
I don't know.
Neurologic conditions oftentimes are coming from something in the neck. So why would I would think that with a bitless bridle, I don't know this for sure, but there's gonna be some sort of applied pull pressure, right? Even without a shank, even in those snaffle ones, there has to be some pressure that comes from the pull. I would think that it would actually make it worse.
It actually, the pressure, if there's any, is more around like noseband area. We should look that up. I should find that paper because it's really interesting. And he's a scientist, like an actual scientist. I think the guy's name is Cook. Yeah, Dr. Cook. Dr. Cook, bitless bridle. Yeah, it really doesn't work off of pull pressure.
Okay, final two thoughts. One, I'm not going to harsh on progress in the right direction. I think it is a good thing at third level that double bridles are no longer permitted. That doesn't mean you can't learn to use them properly, but I think that it is going to force people to work through third level and ideally learn more properly and then add equipment as you move up further. You should be able to collect and do collection exercises without a double bridle, in my opinion. Second, they also added a rule about spurs, which I also really liked. They also changed that rule in the hunter jumper world as well. I thought that was great. No
Yep, I
more
agree.
pokey roweled spurs. That's great. So to wrap this conversation, I love to see that progress is being made on the welfare front. And I think that is great. And I know Slow and steady wins the race, but good on USEF for trying.
I agree with you on both. Although my role here is devil's advocate about the double bridle situation, I am not unhappy to see it go away at third level.
So there. Hire us, USEF. We'll fix all your problems.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, God. Okay. I love you super much. Mucho
Yeah, what are you
grande.
doing today? Off for a pedicure and a
I-
massage again?
No. I am going to go head out to the barn to help load up and go to the horse show, I think.
Oh.
I don't have to, but I want to.
Okay.
So.
There you go. I'm going to head out to the barn also.
Okay.
What a surprise.
All right. Love you guys.
Love you too. Bye.